Hello guys and welcome back to another video where we're doing a react video on creepy Mario things. Yeah, it's gonna get weird.
Today we're looking at things that actually made it into Mario games before Nintendo was forced to
Okay.
remove them. Whether it be because they were too graphic, disturbing, insulting, or just plain creepy, I'm going to tell you exactly why they had to be cut. And we're going to
Okay.
start with something actually pretty gruesome from Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door.
That's one of the
Now,
new
if you head
games.
down this sketchy alley and into this even sketchier thieves'
Okay.
hideout, you'll notice it's completely run down with
It's a bit
trash and
sus.
papers scattered everywhere. However, this area was originally going to
Why
be
is it that bad?
significantly more sinister, because when
Okay.
looking at the initial Japanese release of this game,
Okay,
you can
Japanese
clearly
one.
see a chalk outline of a once dead Toad surrounded by blood splatter
Ah,
everywhere. This
Toad was
detail
killed.
completely changes the vibe, implying that this character wasn't just some petty thief, but a full-on murderer. So Nintendo
He's a
decided that
murderer.
this scene was too gruesome for the international release. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, because it's surprising how many
Oh
more
no.
things Nintendo had to cut, with even more wild reasons why. Like Mario Party 2, for example,
Some of
actually
our
had
games are
some
weird,
pretty
the old
brutal
ones.
scenes in it in the original Japanese version. Take the ending cutscene for Western Land. In the original release, the characters use realistic revolvers with actual
Damn.
smoke effects. Bowser literally gets shot right in front of you by a Mario character using a real gun. However,
So
for the
that's scary.
international release, Nintendo decided that that was a little too intense. So the
I mean, it
realistic
is supposed
firearms
to be a
were
child's
entirely
game.
swapped out for bright yellow toy cork guns. The smoke effects were completely removed, and instead of bullets, you just see a cork shootout accompanied by a much goofier sound effect. Though, because now we have to take a closer look at the costumes in Mario Odyssey. Because there's one
I played
outfit
this
in
game.
particular that had to be heavily altered for the Chinese release: the
What do you
pirate
mean?
outfit. In most
Oh,
other regions, it's a pretty standard
it is
costume, with
fine.
nothing really dark or malicious about it.
Nothing.
However, in the Chinese version, the
China's
skull on
weird.
Mario's hat and the eye patch were completely removed to erase any reference of piracy. The outfit's name was even changed from the pirate outfit to the noble outfit. This
It's
big
weird.
change was done to comply with strict regional guidelines in China,
Well,
which
now it's gone
heavily
in China.
restricts the depiction of illegal activities,
Everything's gone
cults,
in
or
China.
any skull imagery. And since a pirate is essentially just a gang member of the seas, Mario's design had to be completely
Shh.
altered in this version of the game. Now, the cut features only get more bizarre from
Why is he
here, with
pink?
even wilder reasons behind them,
Oh
like
no.
one that was removed for physically hurting players. But first, a
How does that
YouTube
make
spy
sense?
told me it's impossible to subscribe and like the video at the same time. Let's see if you can
Only
prove
if you
them
don't have
wrong.
touchscreen.
Thanks. Next up, we have an enemy whose actual name had to be changed altogether for some pretty unsettling reasons.
Okay.
We're talking about the Red Bones enemy from Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door.
This game
This
again.
enemy is basically just a buffed up Dry Bones, acting as a much stronger version of the standard enemy.
Okay.
However, in the original Japanese release of this game, he had a much darker name. Instead of Red Bones, he was literally called Bloody Dull Bones.
Oh,
This
that's
implies
scary.
that the red color of his skeleton is actually stained from the blood of the enemies he's killed. I guess that would make sense,
Kinda
since he's a
scary.
much stronger variant, meaning he would have slaughtered way more foes than a standard Dry Bones.
Fair.
Either way, this name was altered in all other releases, since the original referenced a much darker, violent backstory that simply wasn't suitable for a Mario game.
And if it wasn't suitable, like I understand the older ones, but like this one didn't really make sense. But I guess they just got rid of it for like reasons so they don't have people calling up Nintendo and going like, "Hey, could you change the game or something?" Because it's too inappropriate for my child to play.
But we're going
That makes
right
a bit more
back to
sense.
Mario Party 2,
Oh
because there
no.
wasn't just
It's one
animations
again.
that had to be removed in this game, but various voice lines as well in the international release. Specifically, Wario and Luigi's losing voice
Oh no.
lines, which sounded like this in the original Japanese version.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
So, did you catch what
Nothing
was
really
wrong
wrong
with
with it.
them, or why they had to be changed? Well, it's because they directly reference religion by saying the phrase, "oh my god." So, in
They
the
did.
international releases, they swapped it out so they say this instead.
So I admit.
Oh.
Yeah, so Luigi
Mario is just
screams,
German.
and Wario actually says some words in German, if you didn't catch that. And we're not
What does that
quite
mean?
done with
I
this
don't
game
know.
just yet, because there is one more tiny interesting detail that was removed in the international release. And it has to do
Okay.
with this older Toad. Just look at him. Do you see what's missing? Well, this is what he looks like in the international release. Yeah,
Okay.
Nintendo removed his pipe entirely just to get rid of all references to tobacco
You
in
didn't
other
really.
games. So
You didn't really need to do that, if I'm being honest. That's a bit too far, because then you just remove something from its character. It's like when you draw a photo of an old guy, from like the 40s or the 50s. I just remove that pipe or cigarette. It kind of gets deletes the whole character thing. Anyway.
don't smoke, kids, or you'll become a toad.
What?
Now, let's move on to the Mario Kart series, because the original game had some interesting visuals, to say the least. See, in every single victory animation in
Okay.
Super Mario Kart on the SNES, all the characters pop open a bottle of champagne to
Oh,
celebrate.
no.
However, there were two specific animations that actually had to be changed for international releases. These were the animations and Bowser.
Okay.
Originally, they didn't just drink a little bit of the champagne, they straight up chugged it.
Oh,
Bowser
no.
ends up spilling it all over himself, and Peach's skin literally turns flush red from downing the whole bottle. So
That's
both
bad.
of these animations got completely changed for all other releases. Instead of chugging it, Bowser simply holds up his bottle proudly, and Peach just tosses hers up and down in the air. Unsurprisingly, this was all due to Nintendo not wanting to show off or promote excessive drinking in a Mario game.
Yeah, you shouldn't do that either. That's very dumb of you to do that kind of stuff. But I guess it came from a safety standpoint, so fair enough.
Interestingly enough, this is not the only Mario game where drinking references had to be removed. This was also the case in a pretty obscure game called Wario Land 2. In the original
Okay.
Japanese release, there were these penguin enemies that would actually throw full pints of beer at Wario. If you got hit
Wow.
by one, Wario would look visibly drunk, turn completely purple, and clumsily stumble around the stage.
That does make a
The
bit
status
sense.
effect he was in was even officially called Drunk Wario. So, in later international versions, the penguins threw heavy bowling balls at Wario instead.
Making him
Getting hit puts
stunned.
him in the exact same dizzy, stumbling state, but it was renamed to Crazy Wario to avoid the alcohol reference entirely.
Should have done stunned, honestly. Like, you get hit by something really hard, then your brain's just gonna you're gonna be like, what am I doing? You're not be able to see things properly, and you're just gonna stumble.
Mario 64 DS has some pretty interesting exclusions, specifically in the South Korean version. And it doesn't even
Okay.
have to do with the main game, but rather the mini-games that were included as a fun bonus mode. Because there is a specific mini-game where you're playing a bunch of card games at a casino against Luigi.
Oh no.
This caused not only this minigame to be straight up removed, but all of the minigames that were included in this game were all taken out of
That's
the
really
version.
bad.
Jeez. And this was due to South Korea's extremely strict laws regarding simulated gambling in video games, since real gambling is totally illegal and looked down upon for South Korean citizens. And
So
it
it's
wasn't
legal
just
there.
Mario 64
Fair.
DS that was affected by these strict laws, because Mario Party DS was hit too. Minigames that heavily referenced gambling, like Shuffleboard Showdown and Chips and Dips, were straight up removed from the game. They even had to completely rework the Bowser's pinball machine board due to its casino aesthetics. You know that slot machine area? Well, they completely swapped it out.
That's technically still gambling, because you have to like pull it and you might lose money, but probably isn't.
For a UFO
Just depends.
minigame. And that roulette-style Wheel of Wonder got replaced with a whack-a-mole game too. It's honestly wild how much they had to tweak just to get the game released over there. This next one comes
mean-
from Mario Kart
South Korea does have a lot of citizens, so there's more consumers for the game, more money for them, I guess.
64, specifically what's written in the signs on certain tracks. If you compare the original
Okay.
Japanese version of this game to the international release, you'll notice the signs look completely different.
Oh,
They
no.
still mostly say the same things, but the color schemes, fonts, and logos were totally altered. This is because in the Japanese version, these signs were all direct parodies of real-life companies. One of them was actually a parody of a company that is honestly pretty dark for a kid's game. But first,
Oh,
let's
no.
start with Yoshi 1, which is a parody of the gas company Mobil One. Koopa Air
Oh.
was a parody of Goodyear, with the font matching up almost exactly. And Luigi IP was a parody.
That was the only one that would make proper sense. So, the font makes sense. So, yeah, it was the only one that I already had that font that they could copy of, so, that we know internationally.
Of AGIP, the Italian gas company. But
More
then
gas.
these sponsorships
Well,
get a bit weird.
Petrol. I mean, not gas, I'm sorry.
Because you can find signs for Mario Row, which is a blatant parody of Marlboro, the cigarette company. Having a
Oh my
massive
goodness.
cigarette ad parody is really odd, and honestly kind of a twisted thing to sneak into a game aimed at
It's not that
kids.
bad, but
Because of this, the Mario Row
it's bad
sign
for
was
children.
changed the most during localization, as Nintendo simply changed it to read Mario Star in all future releases, which
Doesn't even
removes
exist.
the original reference entirely. But back to Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door, because
Again? I swear that game is
now
bad.
an incredibly subtle change
It's like
that
4 or
doubt
3.
anyone really even noticed. During this game, there are various sections where you play as a kidnapped Peach, and she frequently interacts with a massive supercomputer named Tech. In the international release, Tech is depicted with a glowing blue eye, which already heavily resembles the evil computer HAL 9000 from the iconic movie 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Haven't watched
However, the original Japanese version had an even stronger resemblance. Instead of the blue eye,
was
Tech's eye
red.
was the exact same red as
Yep.
HAL's. The color was ultimately changed for the international releases due to concerns over copyright infringement. Sticking with this same game,
It's funny how it's copyright infringement and not actual, like,
we
inappropriateness.
have one more notable thing
That's
that
like
had to be
4 or
said.
5.
It has to do with a specific item called Chocola Cola, which
Oh,
Admiral
no.
Bobbery asked for as his final dying request. If you look at the item icon in the Japanese version though, you'll notice the liquid isn't the purple color we're used to, but rather it's red. While that might sound like an innocent palette swap, it makes
It
total
might be.
sense when you look at the original Japanese name for the item. It wasn't Chocola Cola at all, but rather Vintage Red. This
That's a
confirms
wine.
that it was actually a bottle of red wine in the original release. With this uncensored context, Admiral Bobbery's backstory becomes even more tragic, because his final dying request was simply to have one last bottle of wine, presumably to numb the pain of his final moments. This next one
Sad.
has to do with the Inkling character
For him.
in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, because she has this very specific pose where she flexes her right arm and places her left hand on her bicep. While in Japan, this is simply a way to show triumph and encouragement, in certain parts of the world, like Latin America and parts of Europe, this is actually seen as an offensive gesture that means something not so nice. To correct this,
I'm not gonna
Nintendo
research that
quickly
by
released a
people.
patch removing her left hand from her right bicep. So it simply looks like a standard strongman pose instead. What's really interesting about this though is that this is the second time Nintendo had to censor this exact gesture. Because if we look all the way back to Mario RPG on the SNES, Bowser does this exact same pose when he wins a battle. This was changed in all international releases to him just thrusting his fist up into the air. And that change
The old one is hard to see because it's all pixelated, so I can actually catch that, but I see the new one.
carried over into the recent Switch remake. Honestly, it's pretty funny that this pose managed to slip
Did you hit
through the
twice?
cracks 2 separate times. Now let's look at Mario World, at an interaction between Yoshi and a certain creature that he may have been a bit too mean to in the past. I'm talking about the dolphins.
Woo, dolphins!
Level Vanilla Secret 3. In the original Japanese version of this game, as you're platforming across these dolphins, you can use Yoshi's eating ability and straight up swallow them whole. However,
Oh,
in
no.
international releases, you simply cannot do this. If Yoshi uses his tongue, the dolphins can't be eaten. While no official reason from Nintendo has ever been given for this change, fans have heavily speculated that it's due to dolphins being seen as highly intelligent creatures in the West, meaning eating them would have been viewed as animal cruelty. But
It's also because, like, eating a dolphin is like eating an endangered animal. You shouldn't do it. And I think it was also so that it wouldn't get promoted and people wouldn't start doing it.
Honestly, this might have simply been a weird gameplay glitch, since in the GBA re-release of this game in 2004, you could eat the dolphins in all releases worldwide. So maybe Nintendo went back on their decision, seeing as they didn't think it was that cruel of a gesture, or maybe it was really just a bug all along. Moving on though, because we have something that was changed since it actually was physically hurting players.
Here we
You might
go.
be asking how that's even possible. It's just a video game, right?
Yeah.
Well, take certain minigames in the original Mario Party on the N64.
I'm telling
where
you,
the
these
only
Mario
goal
Party
was
games
to
are
rotate
crazy.
the control stick as fast as possible.
Oh no.
It sounds simple enough, but to hit those super fast speeds, players quickly realized it was way easier to use the palm of their hand.
Oh no. Because when you know when you put your palm of your hand and you just like move it around and stuff, if it's on like a rough surface, it's gonna hurt because of friction or something. So it's gonna be
instead of
bad.
just their thumb. Now,
Oh
with
no.
modern controllers, this might not be a huge issue, but the original N64 analog stick was made of hard plastic, and it actually had these bumps on it too. So
I think that's a fault. I think that's a fault on their half because they made it so the stick is like that. Like the new ones, like it's all nice and rubbery, so you can do it. You might get just like a little bit of marks, but they'll go away soon. But with this one, you're actually gonna hurt yourself.
when you press down hard and aggressively rotated that stick, those
Oh,
ridges
no.
would literally dig right into your skin.
That
This
hurts.
caused players to get severe bruises and blisters just from trying to get a high score. The injuries got so bad that Nintendo completely avoided porting the game for years. It was never released on the Wii or Wii U Virtual Console, even while other older Mario Party games were. And when the game finally did
Isn't this
get
the first
a
one?
re-release on the Switch in 2022, Nintendo actually had to add a strict warning message right at the start.
Run them back.
Nintendo actually had to add
To avoid irritation to your skin or damage to the control stick, do not rotate with the palm of your hand. Rotate with your thumb or by holding it between your thumb and forefinger.
a
Okay,
strict warning message right
makes
at the
sense.
start, directly advising players not to use the palms of their hands, but rather their fingers. Interesting. Let me know if there were any things today that you wished weren't cut out of later versions, and I will see you all later.